From the center of the universe and the home of your Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts,
it's the X's and Argos podcast.
Welcome to the X's and Argos post-game reaction podcast, brought to you by Something in the Water Brewing, as the Toronto Argonauts lose in the Eastern Final. Not just lose, get blown out 38-17 to the Montreal Alouettes. JB and I are here for maybe a little bit of therapy, and we'll talk through what we saw today. Obviously, there's going to be some really disappointed Argos fans after what was a historic season, and you hate to see it end this way. But JB, before we get to the recap and going through all the reasons that the Argos lost today and what happened, let's talk first about Something in the Water Brewing. It was awesome that we got to go down there pregame and hang out with so many listeners. It was great to see. I think that was probably our best turnout yet. We've done a bunch of events at Something in the Water. It's the perfect location for what we're doing and covering the Argos. There's steps from Lamport Stadium where the Argos practice, steps from BMO Field, and it was awesome to see so many of you out today supporting Something in the Water, our title sponsor at this event. And yeah, there were giveaways, hot dogs, beer, great beer, and really cool to catch up with so many listeners and guys coming in from Ottawa, from all over the place, locals, guys that were just coming from around the corner. JB, it was great to see the support like that at Something in the Water.
Yeah, fantastic. It was a really nice start to the day and a good mood and delicious beer. It was delicious hot dogs. It was a terrific start to what turned out to be a less than glorious day. It
was, in fact, the highlight by far of the day because it went downhill after we left Something in the Water. Let's go through what happened today, JB. Like, I guess in a nutshell, this was the game that the Argos hadn't played all year. They have been so steady. Even when Chad Kelly wasn't great, he didn't have a bad game all season. There were games where he was fine and games where he was great, but that was it. And today, this is on Chad Kelly. He played probably the worst game. This might be the worst game of his life. I don't know what all of his high school games were like. I can't imagine he had a performance worse than this. And I think he would probably say that himself. I would think. I don't know. But he just did not look anything like Chad Kelly. He was all season long the best player in the CFL. And I don't know. I'm at a loss for what happened today. Like, how do you read this on a day where the defense was lights out? Special teams was hit and miss, but the offense was negative.
Well, I mean, this was the Chad Kelly that we thought we might see in the first 4 games of the season. Bit overwhelmed, trying too hard, holding on to the ball too long, not necessarily recognizing what he's seeing, a little frantic in the pocket. There's no way to shine it. I mean, it's a terrible performance by, a first-year quarterback. I mean, there is an aspect to it. Like, there's a reason why veterans win Grey Cups. There's a reason why teams that are veteran laden have a better shot at the championship. It's because winning in the playoffs is very different than winning in the regular season. And he looked like a quarterback playing, starting his first playoff game.
And I really didn't think we would see that from him because he's played in high pressure games before. Like we've seen him. At Ole Miss, where he beats Alabama in Tuscaloosa, he beats Georgia. Like these are stadiums filled with 100,000 people screaming, and he's excelled in those situations. And so I didn't see this coming at all. And I'm not sure it would have been this way had that first pick not happened. I think that was what set the tone for the game. The Argos take the ball to start. Montreal wins the coin toss. They defer. Argos take the ball. The Argos drive the length of the field. They get down inside the 10-yard line. And Chad Kelly throws a 111-yard pick six on a play that's just a ball that he shouldn't have thrown. And we'll talk about that in a second. But if that drive ends in a touchdown and Toronto goes up 7-0,
right,
there's no doubt in my mind they win the game.
They win the game by 3 touchdowns.
Easily. That's what it should have been. Like Montreal couldn't do anything offensively. They were inept offensively. They couldn't run the ball. Every time they dropped back to pass, they were sacked. But Toronto handed them really 28 points. They had 2 pick sixes, the kick return touchdown, and then the one touchdown the defense let up started on the Toronto 29-yard line. And so,
and they were given a fresh set of downs.
right. And they were given a fresh set of downs on that drive and had like 10 shots from the 5-yard line. It was, the defense could not have played better. They were fantastic today. They were playing lights out football, but the offense was negative, like I said.
Exactly. We had seen games like that from McLeod the year before where the wheels just came off. And really, that's why I was so confident about this game, because in my mind, I'm like, well, I mean, you would have to have, for Montreal to win, there would have to be, a special teams touchdown, at least 2 pick sixes.
And there were.
Right. And I just didn't see how that was going to be possible. And then, of course, unfortunately, Chad threw 4 interceptions, 2 pick sixes, and there was a kick return touchdown. It was really, well, I think there's a couple things. We talked during the season, one of the weaknesses that I saw that Chad Kelly had all season was he was not very good 15 yards and in the air. He just was not very good 15 yards and in. I don't know why, but it was not something that he excelled at. And that came to pass again, that he just was not good at throwing the ball in the red zone. Because that was such a predetermined pass to start the game. He's done that a couple of times where he's thrown slants directly into the hands of defenders, which is what happened there. Like, that has to be predetermined. He just simply decided that the overload was going to work and I'm going to throw this ball. And he just can't throw that ball. You just, as a quarterback, you can't do that. And then he just seemed to have he just didn't seem to be able to get over it the way he got over picks before. He's thrown picks. But it just seemed like his mind was racing. He had that terrible sack fumble where he held onto the ball for way too long while being pursued by Lemon. He had the throw across his body while being pursued. He really seemed hesitant to run, which I found really disappointing because there were a number of times he easily could have gotten a first down or at the very least a good chunk. And in fact, when he started to run was the only time the Argo offense looked explosive. We talked about it pregame. I don't know why he didn't run more. I don't know why he didn't tuck the ball away and go on those picks, because he hadn't shown that all season, and I'm sure it was confounding to the coaches because that's not who he was all season, and essentially he single-handedly lit the Argos on fire tonight.
Yeah, I was frustrated by the lack of running too, because that was my one thing. I felt like Montreal would not be able to have an answer for all 3 of AJ Ouellette, the receivers downfield, and Chad Kelly running. I felt like if they could do all 3, Montreal would be able to stop 2 maybe, but not 3. And there were opportunities. They kept sending a 3-man rush, and it would open up in front of Chad. He'd step up into the pocket, look like he was going to go, and then instead throw it. And there was all sorts of space, a number of times where he could have run for first downs and still not even taken a hit and slid before getting hit. But in a playoff game, I think you have to do that. You have to take what they're giving you. And if it opens up and you can get a first down, take it. Go get the first down. That's what Fajardo did when he had opportunities, when he escaped the pocket. One of the few things that Montreal got working for them today was Fajardo on the move. And Toronto had trouble with that when he escaped the pocket. So that's something that I think he'll look back and watch the film and sort of realize, yeah, I should have gone. Now, that said, I don't want him to think about that too much, because getting to like next season, like that's not how you want to play in the regular season. You don't want him taking hits and running for 10 carries a game. But in a playoff game like this, that would have been the time to open up that that strategy that they just haven't used all year.
And I don't think I'm saying this in hindsight. I do think that was a game where it would have been nice to have a veteran quarterback on the sideline to put in.
Yeah, and there was no option. Like that's Mike Hogan asked me that after.
But
I think it was at the end
they
of
had a veteran, the veteran most assuredly would have gone in the third quarter.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, that's
clearly, and maybe not for the rest of the game, but you needed a change because clearly, starting with that sack fumble at the end of the half, like, Chad's brain was clearly on, was racing.
Yeah.
He essentially was on tilt, like the clock in his head was not working. I guess maybe he was experiencing more pass rush than he had all season. And so like that was, he definitely didn't spend much of the season running for his life. And so that clearly seemed to rattle him a little bit. But I don't know why I still don't know why he tried to pass once he was chased out of the pocket. I don't know why he didn't just simply tuck it away and run. I don't know why he was trying to pass. It just didn't make any sense to me. Like in Canadian football, when you get outside the pocket, just keep going.
Yeah, and I think he'll see that and learn from that. I didn't actually feel like he was under a lot of pressure early,
not constantly,
in passes.
But on the interception plays, he was. Like,
yeah, and that's I think there were a lot of plays where he had lots of time, and then late there was pressure, but yeah, he didn't certainly respond well to being on the move, which again is something he has. Like when he leaves the pocket, usually that's trouble for the defense because he's found guys when he's outside the pocket, but.
I don't think today. Yeah, and I don't want to say what he was experiencing, but it felt like when young players or young quarterbacks are, when it becomes frantic, they're not seeing the field at all. I just don't think he saw the field at all.
No, and especially after that second pick, I think that's when things really started to turn. The first one was fine. It was a mistake, but he's made those before, and he's bounced 100%. Back just fine.
I was perfectly fine. I mean, it was unfortunate it turned into a 6.
Yeah.
But, I'm like, okay, I mean, I've certainly seen him throw those red zone picks. It's something he does. I wasn't that worried. And to be honest, I wasn't even worried until the sack fumble when I was like, he is really not connected this game. Like he's being chased. He has to know, like he saw, like he had to have seen the pass rusher come up the field to his left. And when he rolled out to the right, he has to know that Lemon is chasing him down and that he has to get rid of that ball. Like he just has to be aware of that
even if you don't see it. You're on a clock. Like, where the guys are. Even if you didn't see him rushing in, you can't just stand back there after rolling out forever because the offensive linemen, they're not blocking for you on that spot. And so eventually guys are going to get free. And he just waited. He was trying to direct traffic downfield, didn't see what he liked. But
that's not his game, right? Like that is not his game, the rollout game, in the way that it is Collaros' game. So it just seemed unusual to me that he suddenly was trying to do this sort of rollout quarterbacking, which has not been something he's done all season. That is not his strength. And
he's good on the planned rollouts, but not on the escape. No. Like usually when you escape like that, that's when I'd like to see him run. But yeah, he didn't seem to see that. And what's amazing is you think about how good Toronto's been at protecting the football all season. They had a league low 27 turnovers all year. They had 9 turnovers today. You had 4 interceptions, the lost fumble, and the 4 turnovers on downs, which is just crushing. And that counts as 9 turnovers. So a third of their season's turnovers came in one game. 27 turnovers over 18, 9 today. And all of them with the ball in Chad Kelly's hand. Even those. Well, let's talk through let's talk about those picks first. So, the first pick, and maybe before we even get to that, I think it is important to point out, like, I don't want it to seem like we're piling on Chad Kelly and saying, like, what is this guy doing? Chad Kelly had the best season of anybody in the CFL. He was the CFL's best player this year. Next year, I expect Chad Kelly to have Toronto in the Grey Cup conversation right from the word go. I'm not in any way giving up on Chad Kelly, and I expect him to be the best quarterback in the CFL next year.
Peyton Manning had lots of playoff meltdowns in the first 3 years of his career.
Early especially, yeah.
Right. As did many, like that. So, I mean, it's not, to be honest, it's not unexpected because that's usually what happens to young quarterbacks. Like you look who's left in the playoffs. There are no other quarterbacks in their first season, playing. I mean, like, Fajardo's been playing since the late 70s, and Caleros has been around forever, and Adams, like this. This is a game for vets. When you get into this part of the season, and I think it was an important step in Chad's development. As bitter, as it tastes right now, I do think it's probably a step that you cannot skip over. And the same way Rourke did not lead the BC Lions to a Grey Cup last year.
So Fajardo is 2 years older than Chad Kelly.
He's just been around a long time.
It feels like it, but he hasn't really. Like he hasn't been in the league for 10 years. Like but he's had experience and he's been there, and he's a name obviously in the
he's got some tread on his tires.
Yeah, he does, and he's been on multiple teams, so it is different. Yeah. Let's look at some of those plays. So that first pick that was such a game changer. What I saw in that was, to me, that was more of a math mistake than anything. It was a play-action pass. He had Tommy Neal coming across the formation. He saw Dequoy, I'm sure, coming down from that safety spot. I believe it was cover zero. I still haven't seen a replay of this one. It was weird. Up in the booth today, Hoagie and I usually get a lot of replays after a play happens. We weren't really getting any today, so I still haven't seen a lot of these plays on replay. But what I saw was Dequoy come down into the box, and I think Kelly must have thought he was coming up for run support. And when Neal leaked out into the flat, Dequoy scraped along the line and went with him. And I think Chad was thinking the safety's down for a run. That means there's nobody out wide, nobody's left. And so when he was under pressure, he just kind of flung it sidearm, thinking with just my guy out there, but he didn't account for
the sidearm to me feels more like I think I can sneak this in.
Maybe. I don't think he knew he was there. I think he thought Neal was wide open.
Maybe the sidearm to me feels more like a little hero ballish. I didn't love the play call. I don't like the play call either. But. I'm like, look, AJ just ran the ball. Okay, run the ball. What we don't need this play. We don't need. Also, if you're going to throw the ball in the end zone, not an out, where so many things can go wrong on an out. It like that from a defensive back point of view, you're praying for an out because that's such an easy pick when you're in the red zone and you're not backing up. Like that's like it's like practice. It's perfect. You just jump cut that out. Like I can't say enough how much I hate the out call in the red zone and no running play. And if you're going to throw into the end zone. I did not, to me, that's not a call. That's a bad play call. I don't like that play design. And I thought that was a really unfortunate mistake by the coaching staff.
And then from there, the other picks too were just odd plays. Like the pick that Stubblefield had, it looked like to me that Montreal was in cover 4 and they had a sort of a variation of a dagger concept where you had Brissett breaking into a dig route from deep with the second man in clearing out. And those are great against cover 4, but he just never looked for those underneath guys dropping back. And Stubblefield dropped back from the beginning. He's watching Chad Kelly's eyes the whole time, drifting, and he's easily able to pick that off.
He stared down the receiver on that play.
Yeah, just waited for that to happen. And Stubblefield's had a great season. He's done that to a bunch of quarterbacks and been a general nuisance.
I think that's a nice play. Like, to be honest, you shouldn't stare down your receiver, of course, but I think that's a great play by a great defender. I can live with that pick. It's the other 3 that I thought were just, unfortunately inexcusable.
What'd you make of the 3rd and 1 situation? So in the past, they've brought Cam Dukes in for that, which we've criticized because I like Chad Kelly way more as a quarterback sneak guy than Cam Dukes. But maybe this is a hindsight thing because I would have left him out there too. But maybe
I
not
looked
having
up,
to do it all season long makes it a tougher thing to ask.
I didn't think either were Chad's fault. I know that Dukes ended up getting that one later. So maybe he should have been there, but to me it just felt like the defensive line fired off. Whether they needed to go not on one, but they just lost that fight. Like, I think you've got to win that fight. The Montreal defensive line on both those plays were just in the backfield. Like, there just was no push whatsoever. I think that's on the line, not on Kelly.
On one of them, Kelly ran into the back of Dejon Allen.
Yeah,
I don't quite know how Allen ended up there. He seemed to be pinching down, and when Chad went, he got stood up because he ran into Allen's hip, and it wasn't even close. I don't even think he even got back to the line of scrimmage.
No, I mean, what you might not run that second one because the first one went so like definitively to Montreal.
Right.
At that point, you might think, well, maybe this is, that's not here. Let's do something else. Let's give, which they did later in the game. Like, let's give AJ the ball because we are not getting the push on these plays. And, AJ converted that one down, near the red zone.
He did. And the other sneak, it was a different thing that went wrong. It was both Lemon and, who was it? Johnson, I think. Both Lemon and Johnson somehow came through their gaps. And on those short yardage plays, like, linemen are usually foot-to-foot splits. There's not a gap to come through. That's the whole point of it. You're kind of like a sledgehammer going forward, but both guys came through and they both like clothesline slammed Chad Kelly to the ground. So that was, I don't know that I've seen that. I don't think I've seen quarterback sneaks blow up that badly since early in the season against BC. Do you remember that in the BC blowout in 2021, where they, was that last year? I can't remember which. I think it's all combined together. But I think it was last season in BC where they had 3 quarterback sneaks all go sideways. I haven't seen anything like that since. So they needed clearly to get away from that. That was a huge problem. But let's go to the other side of the ball. The defense. This was one of their best games of the season. It's not that amazing. Montreal's offense is elite, but they're good, they're efficient, and the Toronto defense turned them upside down.
Yeah, they had nothing. The one touchdown they scored, they had like 6 shots at it. That was a tough play for Oakman to get that penalty. The defense dominated. They were sacking. They kept giving the ball back to the offense. They kept giving the offense chances. The offense did not put any drives together, did not give them decent field position, and yet the defense absolutely kept them in that game until the offense went into hyperdrive in terms of their attempt to destroy the game. I feel bad for those defensive guys. They played amazing. They dominated. You look at the Montreal statistics, it looks like a game they lost by 30.
Oh, it does. Cody Fajardo had 175 passing.
Right.
Stanback had 15 yards rushing on 9 carries.
Right. They had like 60 yards rushing as a team.
Fajardo was sacked 7 times.
I know. I feel so bad for those defensive guys because that was the other reason. Honestly, that's why I was so confident. I was like, how could they possibly lose with the defense that good? And turning the ball over 42 times is gonna cost you. And I thought that the line played fantastic. The line got pressure. 7 sacks.
I know.
I thought on offense, I did think AJ looked spry, and I thought he looked really good. To be honest, I know it's hard for him to be productive when other things are on fire. But I thought he looked really, really good. But everybody looked really good. The defensive line looked good. The secondary got the turnover before the offense immediately gave it back. It was one of the most one-sided events, that I've seen. I think that's a tough pill for a football team to swallow when one side is playing elite championship ball and the other side is in a Chernobyl-like meltdown.
It was so extreme, and it needed to be like that's right. Again, like if the offense was just bad,
Right.
The Argos win this game by
Right.
10 points.
They just can't turn the ball over 9 times.
No, that's too many.
And they can't throw 2 pick sixes.
Also too many.
I mean, so the defense played fantastic. I thought the kick return there was clearly a block in the back as the Argo went flying through the shot on the replay. And, I don't know why that was called. And it's unfortunate that can't be challenged because that was clearly blocking the back. It's bad timing, unfortunately. The Argos were just getting back into it, and then that was just a dagger. But even that kick return's not the difference, No,
that wasn't like special teams. You would like not to give up a kick return touchdown, but that wasn't the problem. It wasn't special teams that were the problem. It was the offense running negative that was the problem today. But it's just so like I'm beside myself because they just haven't played like that all year. Now, you have to give some credit to Montreal. Montreal's defense is really good. Montreal has played incredible football down the stretch. They're the hottest team in the CFL coming into this game. But most of these weren't things Montreal was doing to force turnovers. It's just bad decisions. Like that first pick six wasn't like it was a nice play by Dequoy, but it wasn't anything special that was happening. It's just he had good man coverage, but you don't throw that ball. The second one's a nice play. Maybe we give them credit on that one. That was Stubblefield making a nice play, which he's done a lot this year. He's made some really nice plays. But I don't know, not converting 3rd and 1s, the other 2 picks that were to come later, and then not generating touchdowns on drives that start out really well and then stall out in scoring range. This game could have been so different if just 1 or 2 things don't happen in that first half. But that's football too, and that's why they didn't just advance the Argos to the final and say, well, 16-2, you're automatically there. You got to play the games, and they weren't ready to that. Do you feel like, is there any part of you that wonders if they were looking ahead and thinking, okay, well, we're going to be in the Grey Cup. I wonder who will play.
I don't think so.
I don't sense that either.
I wish we had all 24 film. I would like to see how they befuddled Kelly to the point that he sort of went on tilt. Because, I don't know. I don't know what it is, because it wasn't like there was something Montreal was doing defensively that you could then adjust. You just can't adjust.
You just can't make the mistakes. Like that's what it was. Like
there's not an adjustment for throwing those interceptions or not making the throws.
And even that, let's talk about the seam route to Tavares Daniels that should have been a touchdown. He didn't see Daniels in time on that, and he's never late on that. We've seen Cam Phillips get free. That's what it looked like, one of those Cam Phillips touchdowns where there's a bust. And Daniels went up the seam. There was nobody near him. And if he sees that early and throws that, Daniels has all kinds of time and runs in for a touchdown. He saw it late, fired it up. For some reason, the wind, which had been blowing hard towards him, just died. And the ball carried. And it was about a foot beyond Tavares' reach. But he was wide open on that play, and he saw him too late. He overthrew the deep route. And these are things Chad Kelly doesn't do. He doesn't miss on deep routes. The wind doesn't usually just suddenly stop. And he doesn't pick it up late. He usually sees it right on time. And just none of that, it goes back to what you said before. He just wasn't quite seeing the field today. It wasn't quite there. And the receivers that he counted on all season long, like Coxie, 1 target, 1 catch, 29 yards. You end up with AJ Ouellette as the leading receiver with 5 receptions. It just wasn't Toronto's day offensively. You know what it reminded me a little bit of? The Winnipeg Edmonton game before Collaros was injured and Winnipeg was losing 22-0, and just they couldn't figure anything. Everything was going wrong. And that's what this game was like, except they didn't have a Drew Brown to turn it over to. And not that Winnipeg would even have done that if Collaros didn't get injured, but that's everything about this game reminded me of that game where you've got a great team that they just did not have it. And for Toronto, it lasted for 3 quarters. And by the time they started figuring things out, it was too late.
Yeah, I mean, I do think having a veteran would have helped there, because you would have made you would have made the change. To be honest, you would have made the change coming out of half.
Maybe, although again, I don't know that I would have, knowing that it's Chad Kelly, because he's played so well.
I understand that, but I think the sack fumble immediately after the interception was the dagger. I think then you're like, okay, we cannot, because he then came out in the third and just totally imploded.
When the Argos were down by 21 points, Hoagie asked me, would you put in Dukes at this point? And I said no, because I didn't see Dukes bringing the Toronto back from 21 down. Kelly had the potential to do it.
No, I agree. No, it was too late at that point.
So at that point, it was, yeah.
But if you had a veteran, the veteran would have started in the second half. I think, like
when the score was just 10-3 and within reach, obviously. Just
a change, just to try and get a change of, like, look, it's just that happens. So it was too bad, that, but first year quarterbacks in the playoffs, that unfortunately is more common than not, that it all is a bit too much. And it's disappointing that huge crowd didn't get a chance to enjoy a game, because really, like, it was the worst game Toronto's played in 2 years. The offensive performance, I'm not even sure there was a 2019 offensive performance like this. There was the game you went to go see in BC.
Yeah, there's that one. That one was like, that was like this. Yeah,
since then.
That's the last time this offense looked like that. And even they scored fewer points, I guess. So yeah, maybe that was as bad.
So yeah, I feel for the guys, in that locker room, because it was not a question of them looking past or being arrogant or what have you. I think it just, it was just a bunch of really tough plays that put them in a hole. And unfortunately, I think Montreal is going to lose the Grey Cup by 21 points.
I don't know. Montreal's been like, I get what you're saying, but they have done nothing but win down the stretch. Like they're on fire right now.
I agree.
So we'll see.
We'll see. I just don't think. I mean, you look at this game and
I know, but they remind me of some of these Toronto Grey Cup champions, like the 2017 team that just kind of got hot at the right time. But
they're not hot. I mean,
well, the Owls are hot. They haven't lost since like September.
Well, I mean, they are, but obviously their kick returner that they signed has been terrific for them.
Their defense has been amazing since they brought in Sankey. Like that defense is tough.
But not really.
Kind of.
Like,
they erased Tim White. They look what they did to the Argos today. I know it was the Argos doing it to themselves too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm not going to give them the credit. I just don't. I think 3 of those 4 interceptions were 100% on the quarterback. I didn't feel like they were like sacking the quarterback. Like I just didn't. I've seen and they've experienced, I've seen defensive demolitions. That was not a defensive demolition.
No, I agree. But they have found a way to win.
Yeah, no,
every game.
And it's fine for them. But I don't think they can. I don't think that I want Winnipeg to win, and I would like Winnipeg to then win the Grey Cup by 40.
We'll see. I haven't even checked in on that score, and that's going on as we speak. But we'll see who faces Montreal in the Grey Cup. Before we sign off, JB, Coach Dinwiddie got a challenge right today. It was his first.
Well, he's had many challenges right. I would say Central Command got a challenge right.
Got the challenge right. Yeah. Well, Dinwiddie
it took
won.
Long enough.
It took a long time. It seemed pretty obvious to me.
What is this holdup here?
Know.
This is clearly pass interference. Maybe they were debating if they could get away with it one more time. I don't know why that took 5 minutes. But they gave it to him. Yeah, that was, and they just. And
then they promptly went and turned the ball over, I think, after that. So.
Yeah, it was. It was a weird. It was a weird day, I think it. I'm sure there are many people and many fans who are happy to see the Argos kind of melt down. But I thought, as you said on the broadcast, it still was a fantastic season. Still, so many great games, so many come from behind, so many, just enjoyable home games. winning in Halifax, setting records, watching the defensive mastery of Coach Mace's team, watching Chad Kelly be the best quarterback in the league. It was a fantastic season. It just, you hate to see, it end on something like this, but there are lots of great quarterbacks where you can point to, playoff meltdowns in their first and second year in the playoffs. And, unfortunately, that seems to be something that has to happen in football.
Yeah, no, indeed. And to give you our schedule, we've got one more podcast left on the docket for this season. It'll be post Grey Cup, when we will do our X's and Argos award show. We'll reflect on the Grey Cup and that result. And we'll do sort of a season recap as well, as we give positional grades for positional group grades and work our way back through the season. But for this one, that'll be just about all for us today. The Alouettes beat the Toronto Argonauts 38-17. We want to thank again our title sponsor, Something in the Water Brewing. They've been outstanding all season long. And again, thank you for showing up and supporting them, supporting the people that bring you CFL content like the X's and Argos podcast. For JB, this has Ben Grant saying so long, and may all your pre-snap reads be good ones. I'll see you.